He says, "Hi, Lorena. I just wanted to apologize again for what happened earlier. Honest to God, I thought the safety was on. It went through my wall, Frank. Honest to God, I don't care what you thought. I understand. I feel terrible. I'll pay to replace your chair. Just tell me which one it was."
Honest to God, I thought the safety was on. That's what Frank Ray told his neighbor after a bullet tore through his wall, crossed the hallway, punched into her apartment, passed within 18 inches of her neck, and buried itself in the chair she was sitting in. A chair where a woman was sitting, watching television. Not a range, not a field, an apartment building in February.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
Your Honor, it was early February, and I was sitting in my favorite lounge chair, recliner. I'm reclined back, and I'm watching probably your show.
Good one. Go ahead.
And Your Honor, I'm watching television. I hear this loud noise. At first, I didn't know where it came from. It just threw me off. And I happened to look towards the front door, Your Honor, and have this plant that sits by the door. That was a gift from my sister. And it's sitting there, and I noticed dirt on the side of the plant. So I walked over to the plant to get a closer look. And when I looked there, I saw the side of where the plant is at, dirt was out of it. So I moved the plant back, and there was a hole in the wall I can see right outside.
You could see outside?
I can see outside. I watched enough cop shows. I knew that was a bullet hole.
Here's the image that defines this entire case. Picture a bullet fired by a man who admits he didn't know what kind of gun he was holding, traveling through drywall like it was tissue paper. And the only thing that stopped it from ending a human life was the back cushion of a used recliner. That's not a close call. That's a miracle wearing upholstery. Before we go deeper into what the testimony and the evidence actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Real Court Case Verdict, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. Now, back to Frank Ray.
Loren Grady claims her neighbor fired a shot into her apartment and the bullet lodged in the chair she was lounging in. Frank Ray says he offered to buy the plaintiff a new chair in exchange for her old one, but she turned him down.
The gun, he explained, belonged to his son's friend. He came home and found it in the living room. His solution? His immediate, spontaneous, fully adult solution was to pick it up and carry it to the bedroom closet. No call to the friend, no 911, no, "Son, get this out of my house." Just Frank Ray, a man who by his own testimony had never held a gun before, picking up a loaded firearm with no confirmed safety check.
A big mistake, and
You think?
it was, and I took total responsibility for it.
She says you lied to the cops and took no responsibility until they pushed you. What was the gun doing there? Whose gun is it?
So the gun is my son's friend's. When I came home, the gun was there. I didn't know my son had actually brought it in, and I was like,
How old's your son?
21.
Okay, go on.
And so I decided I just needed to get it out of there. Didn't want it in the living room. I'm going to take it back into the bedroom in a closet. Anyway, I picked up the gun to take it, and it just went off.
It's a safe.
And walking through his apartment with it, the gun discharged. The bullet went through the wall. A woman hit the floor and called 911 from a crawling position because she didn't know if more rounds were coming.
Your Honor, I froze. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if more bullets would come. I didn't know. So I backed up. I got my phone and I called 911. I got on the floor, called 911. I told them there was a shooting somewhere outside in a hallway. I don't know, but they need to get there fast. And they did.
Good.
This is the man who later tried to negotiate the price of her replacement chair. You almost killed her. Let that settle. When police arrived, Ray told them he heard something, but didn't know what it was. He knew exactly what it was.
They came, they didn't knock on my door at first. I heard their walkie-talkie, but then I heard Mr. Ray talking to the officers. And they asked him, did he hear a noise? He said no. So that's when I opened my door. And when I opened my door, that's when they wanted to see what happened. What happened? And I told them there was a bullet, something happened. While they were in the hallway, the other officer called the other one out, and he said, there's a hole right here.
And right here was where?
Coming from his residence. Coming from out of his residence.
Okay.
He lied. He didn't even tell the cops the truth, Your Honor. They asked him, do you have a gun? Well, did you hear a shooting? He said no. No, I don't have a gun.
Where
No
did
one
the
right here has
bullet
a
end
gun.
up?
He said so himself, under oath, in open court. He knew within seconds. He put the gun in the closet, waited for the knock, and chose to lie. For 5 minutes, he maintained that lie to law enforcement officers standing 3 feet away from a hole in his wall that daylight was coming through. 5 minutes. Not a panic reaction, a decision.
I said, I heard something, but I don't know what it was.
But you knew what it was.
I knew what it was. I was frightened.
How long did it take you to fold like a cheap suit?
About 5 minutes later,
5 minutes? You sat there lying to the cops for 5 minutes?
Coming up on Justice for the People.
Now here's the question this case forces you to sit with. If a man can fire a bullet into an occupied apartment, watch police investigate the scene, and spend 5 minutes constructing a cover story, what does that tell us about how he weighed her life against his own inconvenience? Because what came next tells you everything. Ray eventually admitted the truth. He apologized. He patched the wall.
When you realize that it came from him, what does he say to you? What do you say to him?
He asked me, was there any damage?
Well, you almost killed her because you had no control over that bullet, and that bullet was inches from her neck, right? She's sitting here, where did it hit in your, so we're talking about 1.5 feet from her neck. Like, that bullet could have gone anywhere. Do you realize how dangerous this is? And then what happens? He tells you, I will pay for a new chair.
He said he would pay for a new chair. First, he did patch the holes up. Thank you. He did get his handyman to come over to my house and patch the holes up. Okay, he did.
And did it look good?
It did, actually.
Okay.
It really did look good, so I won't complain about that.
He agreed, in writing, via text message, to replace the chair. He found a comparable model for $925. He took her to the store. She agreed. He paid at the register. Delivery was scheduled.
We did.
Just when you thought it couldn't get weirder. You went shopping with him.
I went with him to see the chair that he said that was like my chair. It was $945.
Okay.
So there was a deal right there, right? So I did agree to accept that chair. He paid for it. I witnessed him pay for it. They got my address and they were to deliver it to me. So we fast forward, I'm waiting. What's going on? Where's the chair? So when I talked to the representative at the store, they said he reversed the payment and he's not going to give me the chair.
Did you have any idea why?
Then he reversed the payment. Why? Because she wouldn't give him the bullet chair, the one with a live round lodged somewhere inside it, the one she had been sitting in when his negligence nearly ended her life. He wanted it back as a
The old
trade.
chair.
The bullet chair.
The bullet chair.
Why? Did you want to brag about it? I mean, seriously, what did you want the chair for?
For me, it was just a matter of finance. We were moving. It's going to cost.
You could use the
and
chair.
I just wanted to.
You're
I could
buying
use
her
the
a
chair.
new one, so you want the one that you shot up. I mean, so you felt he was nickel and diming you right after he almost killed you.
Exactly. The least he can do. My life is worth a chair with a bullet hole in it.
Lord, Mr. Ray, after the way this happened, you literally canceled the chair because she wouldn't give you the old chair?
That was the agreement, Your Honor.
Wait, that was the agreement when?
As a condition of the deal he had already paid for. You almost killed her. And then you canceled the replacement chair over a used recliner? Loren Grady came to court asking for $1,748.
How do you come to that?
$500 for my stress.
That's it?
That's what I'm saying.
You're selling it
I'm
super
being
cheap.
nice.
$500 for your stress and
$500
$1,248 for the replacement cost of a new chair.
And the chair, so that's my stress with that. Yes, Your Honor.
You just blow me away that the idea that you would nickel and dime somebody that you almost killed is horrifying to me.
$500 for the documented psychological distress of hitting the floor in your own home, not knowing if the next shot was coming. And $1,248 to replace a chair that was in, by her account and unchallenged testimony, perfect condition. Judge Milan didn't flinch. She walked through the law with the precision of someone who has seen every version of this excuse. Depreciated value of the item, that's the legal standard. Not replacement cost, not sentimental value. The market value of a used recliner on the day of the loss. Ray was right about that number. Fine. But then she did something the law also permits and rarely gets used as cleanly as it was here. Punitive damages. Because sometimes negligence is so reckless, so indifferent to the safety of another human being, that the law allows a court to say, this is not just about making her whole. This is about saying out loud in a public record that what you did was unacceptable. You almost killed her. The court wrote it into the verdict. $2,500 in punitive damages.
To me. Now, having said that, let me tell you how it goes.
Okay.
Because I have to do what the law says to do. Okay? He's right. It's the depreciated value of the item at the time of the loss. So it's what would a 5-year-old Barca lounger go for in the open market. That's what he has to pay. He's also right that if he buys you a new chair, he gets the damaged chair, because otherwise you have 2 chairs. You have a new chair, which made you whole, right? Because court is about making you whole. It's not about ching ching, let the cash register ring, I need a bonus. It's about making you whole. So I'm gonna order you to give him the damaged chair, and I'm gonna order him to pay you the $925, just a moment, for depreciated value of the chair, and then I'm gonna order him to pay you $2,500
on top of the $925 replacement chair, on top of depreciated value. Total judgment, $3,425.
All rise.
Judge Milan has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $3,425.
For the man who thought the safety was on, lied to police for 5 minutes, reversed a chair payment, and tried to reclaim a piece of furniture with a bullet in it as a condition of basic accountability. Loren Grady received a judgment. Frank Ray received a public record of what he did.
You didn't even come check on me after the...
Yeah, I said I was sorry.
You said you were sorry, but you didn't come over there right after the point. You don't know if I was lounging there dead or not.
I didn't know it was going into your home.
Coming up.
I pretty much had a welcome party there. My family, friends was gonna be there.
What if he
Here's what
was
you can
late?
verify yourself. The case record for Justice for the People with Judge Milan, case of Grady versus Ray, is publicly available through Allen Media Group's broadcast archives and court television case documentation. Pull the text messages entered into evidence. Look specifically at the exchange where Ray conditions the new chair on receiving the damaged one back after he has already paid at the register. Then come to the comments and answer this. At what point does negotiating over furniture after nearly killing someone stop being a financial decision and start being something else? If this case made you think, like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Real Court Case Verdict and turn on notifications, because every week we go where the evidence leads.